We're gonna let our friends and colleagues spend just a couple more minutes just logging on. We have a lot of people joining, so we're gonna start here in just a minute. Okay, Amy, I think I'm going to go ahead and get started. We have a wonderful group that has joined us, and if some other folks pop on, that'll be just fine. My name is Kelly Schultz, and I am the CEO of the Maryland Tech Council, and I am so excited to offer this great webinar to our members and our partners across the state and beyond. We have a wonderful guest with us today, Mr. Vladimir Popov. And he's going to give us some great information about how our members and our ecosystem can work best with the federal government and the federal labs in our area. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Vladimir first. We started a partnership through the Maryland Tech Council with the FLC, the Federal Lab Consortium, at the beginning of this year. And it's a great opportunity for us to work together to make sure that everybody in the ecosystem knows how to work best. And so our MOU was signed, and we're excited to kick this off to make sure that Vladimir has the widest audience that he can. But a little bit about Vlad. He's the Chief Innovation Officer, and he manages and coordinates the Center for Innovation and Strategic Partnership, or CISP. The Center for Innovation facilitates the development of future strategic partnerships and collaborations by fostering purpose-driven innovation and targeted outreach to the cancer research community. Through science and technology, business building, and IP and licensing programs, the CISP provides a comprehensive and centralized structure equipped to support internal innovation, provide education, identify and execute partnerships, and increase efficiency in providing internal and external support. His team develops and maintains relationships between the Frederick National Laboratory, the National Cancer Institute, client organizations, and local business communities in Maryland. CISP identifies strategic partnership opportunities capable of addressing important scientific questions and unmet medical needs, handles the evaluation and organization of the National Laboratory's IP portfolio, and actively engages in marketing and licensing efforts. Prior to this role, Vladimir served as the director of the Partnership Development Office, overseeing partnership development and implementation processes, client relationships, and partnership projects. Before joining the Frederick National Laboratory, Popov worked as a manager in the healthcare industry, entrepreneur, and licensing manager. He completed 2 postdoctoral fellowships at Thomas Jefferson University and the University of Pennsylvania. He holds a Ph.D. in biochemistry and molecular biology from Thomas Jefferson University and a B.S. in biochemistry from Amapo College. Popov received his MBA at Johns Hopkins University, Carey Business School. Vlad, we are so excited to have you today to speak to our group, our community, which is also your community, which makes this partnership so fabulous. So I can't wait to hear your presentation, but welcome and thank you for joining the Maryland Tech Council today.
Thank you, Kelly. First of all, thank you for this great invitation. I really appreciate the opportunity to be associated with Maryland Tech Council, but also to talk to all of our colleagues out there. Good morning, everyone. Beautiful morning here in Maryland, at least where I sit. It is my pleasure to talk about Federal Lab Consortium today, but also to talk about a few labs in our area. So today I'll be wearing two hats, and one of them is obviously my full-time job, and this is the Chief Innovation Officer at the Frederick National Lab for Cancer Research. The other hat that I wear as well is Mid-Atlantic Region Coordinator for the Federal Lab Consortium, and I'll cover that in one of the slides a little bit what that means. So plan for today is to do a bit of an overview of the Federal Lab Consortium, look at some recent updates from Federal Lab Consortium, look how to stay in touch with the labs in your area, with the lab nationwide. All of them were associated through FLC. I'll do a bit of an overview of the Mid-Atlantic region, which is the region where we are now. I also will talk about a few examples of regional federal labs, and I'm fortunate to have very good colleagues who shared a few slides with me. So I'll cover a few labs that sit in the Mid-Atlantic region. I'll cover what they do, just so you can get a little bit of a feeling what people work on, what is the research and development on, and how to work with some of them. Many of those slides also contain success stories, so you can see how really things work out and how they pan out in real life. I'll talk about the new programs and how to work with FLC labs, and then we can cover the rest in question and answer. So what is FLC? I think I should start with the basic question for those who do not know what it is. The Federal Lab Consortium, it's a nationwide network of more than 300 federal labs. They work to move innovative technologies developed by federal labs into the marketplace. That's what FLC helps with. FLC represents a collective strength of more than $180 billion invested annually in research and development by the federal labs. This is a lot of dollars that are strategically invested across different funding agencies. FLC was organized close to 50 years ago and formally chartered by the Federal Technology Transfer Act in '86 to promote and strengthen technology transfer nationwide. Basically, the idea of the FLC is to be kind of a middle person between the federal labs and the rest of the world, helping to take those technologies that come out of this $180 billion invested in R&D and help them reach the market through commercialization and licensing. These are some of the agencies and research labs that are across the US that are part of the Federal Lab Consortium. As you can see a lot of familiar signs and a lot of familiar words like FDA, NASA, Navy, Army, and so on. But as I said, I'll give a few examples of some of these labs, and I'll cover some of the technologies that are developed by these labs through research and development. So when we talk about technology transfer and we say how Federal Lab Consortium helps labs in technology transfer, but let's define what is a technology transfer. It's a process by which existing knowledge, facilities, and capabilities developed under federal research and development (R&D) funding are utilized to fulfill public and private needs. It's basically a transferring of expertise, of knowledge, of protected discoveries through intellectual property to a next person in line who can take this to the market and turn this into a viable product through commercialization. So the goal, federal technology transfer, it basically benefit industry partners due to the availability of unique facilities and equipment, experienced federal scientists and engineers. But federal technology transfer success is also measured by partner success. As I said, there's a lot of dollars, and we saw $180 billion annually is invested in research and development in federal labs. But the primary goal of federal labs is to do that research and development. Their primary goal is not to commercialize technologies. So the goal is for private industry partners to take these federal innovations to the marketplace to manufacture, distribute, and sell. It's basically to look at these new things that are discovered and to turn them into the product that can benefit not only the federal world, but everyone else. Now, how is federal innovation transferred? Private industry can work with federal labs to move federal innovation to market via several different mechanisms, right? The most straightforward is licensing. If there is an intellectual property that is protected, that is in the portfolio of a federal lab, private entity, whether that's a one-person startup or a big company, they can come to the lab and license this technology. There are two types of licenses, generally two types of licenses. You can get something non-exclusive, you can get it exclusively licensed, and then you can go and develop it on your own. There are CRADAs, and you will hear this word more than once today. And the CRADA stands for Cooperative Research and Development Agreement. And these are the most used vehicles when working with the federal government. And they're very flexible research agreements that allow partners to bring their own background intellectual property, to even bring in some funds to the collaboration with the federal lab, and really to use this agreement to kind of further develop certain technologies. Like I said, there are other partnership agreements. I'll cover some of these in one of the slides. What a partner or what a private industry can also get from the federal labs, you can get facility use and you can get a technical assistance. Like I said, a lot of federal labs have unique expertise and capabilities that private industry can take advantage of. Now, I talk about technologies from federal labs, but it wouldn't really be a true statement if we didn't offer some examples. So for all of those who have cell phones on your desk, so like I do, pull your cell phone and you can scan this QR code. There's a really cool interactive page on the FLC website that you can see here on the right side. And it basically shows you to the different technologies that were developed in federal labs that you use every day. So for example, if you go to a living room, you'll see the mobile camera, the cell phone, closed captioning. These are all the things that were invented in federal labs. If you go to a kitchen, you'll see Roma tomatoes, you'll see low-fat cheese. A lot of things that you use every day that you never thought that actually came from a federal lab research and development, and that someone licensed and someone took to the market and developed into a product. Other tech transfer successes, you can see these are products on the market that originated in federal labs, such as tamoxifen, such as Gardasil, Preservision, apple dippers, and so on. There are a lot of examples, and you can all see all that on federallabs.org, and you can see how these products are in your everyday life. Now, I want to talk about some of the updates to the FLC website and to the way that Federal Lab Consortium work with the outside entities and private industry. So recently, we have redone our website, and this is where you can sign up for the updates. We won't bug you with too many emails, but you will get an opportunity to basically look at the news and the announcements, such as here. You'll see all the different events that FLC participates in, and you can even do that on a kind of regional basis. So we all belong, as I said, in our Mid-Atlantic region, so you can see what's happening in your region. Another cool aspect of Federal Lab Consortium website is the FLC business. This is just recently redone. A lot of effort went into this, but it's a great resource for businesses who are looking to work with federal labs. So if you go to FLC Business, you can go and search for technologies, you can search for specific researchers, you can look into the categories or portfolios. So all the federal labs that are, by the way, all the federal labs are automatically part of the FLC. So a lot of them, most of them actually upload their technologies, and you can see what's available for licensing, what's available for collaborations, and also what's available for collaboration by using their facilities or using the equipment. So if you kind of go deeper into the search engine, you can search technologies, you can search by the funding agency, whether that's DOD, DOE, EPA, or so on, and then you can look at specific technology, specific features that you need and you would like to collaborate with the federal labs. So this is the website. Obviously, it's self-explanatory, but it has a lot of good features. It was just recently done, and we responded to the feedback from our collaborators. We responded to the feedback from the industry on how to redo this and what is the easiest way search the website so we can make it accessible, and we can make these labs well featured and accessible to industry and potential partners. So let's focus a little bit in our region. FLC is divided kind of geographically into 6 different regions. I said that FLC, Federal Lab Consortium, is a network of over 300 federal labs. We belong in a Mid-Atlantic region right here on the right. And Mid-Atlantic region, as you can imagine, because of the proximity to DC, has a lot of federal labs. It actually holds probably a third of all the federal labs in the US. So you're in a region that is rich with federal labs such as FDA, USDA, CIA, NIST, USGS, Frederick National Lab, NIH, and so on. Every region has volunteer-based positions, such as mine and Dr. Claudia Haywood's. We are the regional coordinator and deputy regional coordinator for the Mid-Atlantic region. These are 2-year positions, and we're serving our 2nd term right now. And our job is basically to be a connector between the federal labs and the rest of the industry in the region, right? So if you would like to work with the lab, if you have questions how to work with the specific lab, or you just have an area of interest and you don't really know what labs are in the area, you're welcome to reach out to either of us, and we'll be happy to connect you and to tell you how to work with the labs, to put you in touch with the right point of contact within the lab, because we know tech transfer professionals in every one of these labs, and we can ensure that the communication is flawless there. So, like I said, this is our region in Mid-Atlantic, and I would like to give, I would like to give an example of a few labs that are in our area, just so you can see some of the research that happens in the Mid-Atlantic region and some of the success stories. Thanks to Eddie Deal, who works for USA MRDC, the U.S. Army Medical Research and Development Command. This is the U.S. MRDC is now under DHA, which is under DoD, and it has a footprint that extends across the U.S. and all over the world. So MRDC is headquartered in Fort Detrick in Frederick, Maryland. Both Tetrick and US AMRID are also headquartered in Fort Detrick. So if you've ever been to Frederick, Fort Detrick is a military base that has a lot of federal presence. Examples of other MRDC labs include Rare in Silver Spring, Maryland, and ISR in Texas, and especially for infectious diseases, MRDC has labs around the world where the action is, places like South America, Africa, Southeast Asia. They spend almost $3 billion annually on medical R&D and advanced development of medical products. And they have over 5,000 personnel, including military and civilian employees. Examples of medical research include combat casualty care, infectious diseases, and medical simulation and information sciences. All of the work at MRDC focuses on products that maintain warfighter readiness and treat disease and injuries. These are just some of the examples of areas where they do research. This is vaccines, as you can see, Zika, shingles, malaria. They have therapeutics, they have devices, medical IT, and diagnostics. Cancer, obviously, is a terrible disease, but unless it's a specific type of cancer that affects the warfighter disproportionately, MRDC leaves the research to NIH and other organizations, and I will mention some of these soon. So, assistive technology transfer. When MRDC signs a license with external company, it's not fire and forget, right? They need their licensee to be a winner, because in many cases, the Army will want to buy developed products back. And yes, you have heard this right. They will discover something, they will license it to you at very fair licensing terms. They will even continue working with you through CRADAs, as I said, and then they will most likely buy this product back. So it's a pretty good deal if you think about it, that you get everything served on a plate. And like I said, they help with aspects of each license deal in far more ways than just getting a license signed. And they do a great number of licenses. And Eddie and his team and MRDC Labs do quite a few CRADAs. And I mentioned CRADAs, I'll mention them again in other labs because they are really the most popular vehicle for working with the federal entities. MRDC also helps licensees look for funding. They can work with licensees to create prototypes in Army labs and can help with testing of technologies internally and externally through commercial evaluation licenses. The Army runs its own clinical trials for advanced development projects and can assist with advices to licensees. As for fielding, how many companies would you like to develop products knowing that the buyer may be the organization you have to license with? This is, like I said, a rare thing, but it's real. So feel free to reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with Eddie, or if you know Eddie Deal, he's a great guy to work with. So anything created by Army scientists or in collaboration with outside researchers that's of interest to industry. This includes, small molecules, antibodies, antigens, hybridomas, polynucleotides, genes, algorithms, apps, and devices. They do a great job. I work with many of their tech transfer managers, including Eddie Deal and Barry. So please feel free to reach out to them with any questions on how to work with them. You don't just have to license things; you can collaborate with them, and you can also propose projects. Now, moving to our next lab that's in your background, and this is the NIH. It's not a lab; it's a National Institute of Health that is consisted of 27 different institutes under it. NIH needs assistance in biohealth pharma companies to co-develop and commercialize technologies. Technologies for collaboration and or for licensing are in therapeutics, devices, diagnostics, digital health tools, wearables, vaccines, and so on. Licensing, there's a licensing preference for small businesses, and this is with many federal labs. I'll also cover this when I talk about the Frederick National Lab. We like working with small businesses because we think that they like to take on new technologies. They like to put a lot of energy into developing these new technologies and taking them through commercialization to a final product. There are preclinical and clinical stage technologies that are available for collaboration and for licensing, and there are non-patented technologies available as research tools under non-exclusive licenses. So business benefits, when working with NIH, and also this applies to our lab, they take zero equity, which is pretty cool. And if I've worked in academic tech transfer, and it's not the case. Overhead indirect rate is capped at 15% for all of those that have ever collaborated with anyone else and know how much overhead can add up to. There are reasonable milestone payments and royalties, and they mean this. And there are exclusive license options to co-develop intellectual property as well. And again, NIH cannot spin out a company to compete for new IP. They are really there to work with you, not against you. The idea is to help bring these technologies that were developed as part of the federal research and development, to bring these technologies to the market through commercialization and partnering. So let's look at a case study that came out of the NIH, Rakuten Medical. In 2010, Rakuten Medical was incorporated in the US. It was awarded an SBIR grant in 2011. Startup license application to NIH happened in 2012. And in 2013, they collaborated with National Cancer Institute for proof of concept studies and completed studies for clinical trial regulatory submission. Later that year, they executed exclusive license to photoimmunotherapies, and phase trial 1 begun in 2015 for head and neck cancer. As the trial took a few years, you can see that the lead product was approved in 2020 and it was launched in Japan. Total raised was over $500 million. And what NIH did for this Well, they supported translation of basic studies into commercial products. They also provided funding. They provided scientific technical support, and they licensed the core technology that was originally developed at NIH. Again, partnering with NIH offers significant funding, commercialization potential. These are just some of the examples for licensing leads that led to subsequent funding. So if you look at Cargo Therapeutics, they took a license in 2022, raised in Series A $200 million. You can look at Rakuten, which we just talked about. And we have a few other examples of collaboration licensing leads to blockbusters. You can see the companies on the left that licensed intellectual property that originated at the NIH that turned into the products that are now on the market. And you can look at the 2022 worldwide sales for each of these products. These are significant numbers, and they wouldn't be possible if there wasn't federal research and development that happened in this specific case at NIH. The third example is the place where I work, and this is Frederick National Lab for Cancer Research. This is the youngest national lab in the US. It's the only national lab that's not under Department of Energy. It's actually under NIH, funded, sponsored by National Cancer Institute. And it's the only national lab that's fully devoted to biomedical research. We really partner with everyone. We don't care if the company is big or small or medium sized, we care about research. So we partner with universities, biotechs, pharma startups, cancer centers, nonprofits, and so on. We partner in biomedical research, and this is cancer, HIV, emerging infectious diseases, nanoformulations. And you can see here that a lot of our partners come from universities, industry, research institutes, and some government partnering as well. We do pretty much everything at the Frederick National Lab, from very early discovery all the way to running clinical trials. We are about 2,400 employees. Like I said, we do anything from imaging to protein, proteomics, to genetics and genomics, virology, AIDS, and cancer virus program is very robust. We do biomedical computing, we do bioinformatics, simulation analysis, we do artificial intelligence in drug designs, we do modeling, image and visualization. We have several CLIA certified clinical labs, we have pharmaceutical development, we have our own vaccine development plants. We have animal sciences. This is your preclinical work where we have lab animal science program, Center for Advanced Preclinical Research, imaging, histopathology labs, and so on. And finally, we do nanotechnology, where we have nanotechnology characterization lab, where we really work heavily with partners outside of our contract with NCI. Like I said, some of these directorates are so heavy on external partnering that, for example, in nanotechnology characterization lab, NCL, they will help you with reformulation, with method development, with characterization, and all of that to help you basically with your IND and with your FDA submissions. Now, how do you partner with the labs, such as Frederick National Lab? And I said you will hear the word CRADAs a lot of times, and this CRADAs apply to a lot of federal labs. And I know that some of these examples are more focused on biomedical research, which where my comfort zone is, but other federal labs do a lot of other research, such as energy, engineering, and so on. And I'll cover some of these labs in later slides. But the partnering mechanisms are rather typical for the federal labs. So, like I said, the most popular one is the CRADA, and this is a cooperative research and development agreements. CRADAs, they allow partners to work with the federal lab in IP generating studies. Federal labs can accept cost recovering funding through CRADAs. There are material CRADAs, which are for transferring material, usually used for pilot studies. There are research collaboration agreements. There are material transfer agreements if you're just testing things and sending materials between a federal lab and a partner. There are beta testing agreements available with our lab, technical service agreements, which I'll mention in the next slide, and then other agreements such as MOUs and so on. Finally, one of the things that we have at our lab are technical service agreements, and these are very specific agreements for specific services that you can only find at the federal lab, such as Frederick National Lab, for example. We offer these services at cost recovery. There's a set service, and this is basically the only reason we offer this is because no one else will offer these for one reason or the other. So we use our expertise and our very unique capabilities at the lab to offer services to the broader research community through TSAs. Now that you've seen some of the examples of federal labs, I would like to mention some of the programs that can help you when you're working with federal labs, and I'll mention TEDCO, as TEDCO is here in Maryland, and TEDCO has programs to working with federal labs, and then I'll spend a few slides talking about a new program that we have developed here in the Mid-Atlantic region as part of the FLC that helps evaluate technologies from the Federal Lab Consortium, and you will see how you can take advantage of program and of the output of that program for if you have a company, if you're looking to expand your portfolio. So TEDCO's federal programs. So TEDCO works with federal government to convert scientific research into new jobs and new businesses by engaging with research labs. They do this through programs that have Maryland businesses make use of public investment in science, technology, and innovation. TEDCO does a great job with this. And as I said, Maryland is loaded with federal labs, loaded with the federal government funding. So they really take an advantage and they really help transferring these new innovations and helping companies develop these into products. Through DefTech, which is a program, TEDCO connects Maryland businesses with resources in the Department of Defense labs for cooperative research, IP licensing, access to unique testing capabilities, and facilities, equipment, and expertise. They help businesses explore ways the federal labs can help when they are at the inflection point, search for specific IP, arrange for cooperative relationships with the labs. They also seek product testing opportunities. And most importantly, they help businesses navigate through entire engagement process to save business time and resources. TEDCO does this really well. DefTech has a lot of experts who are associated with this program who can help you identify technologies. Like I said, they can help you identify capabilities from the DoD labs. So connect with DefTech members basically to take advantage of this program. And TEDCO and the Maryland ecosystem help to ensure businesses have the support and access to funding needed to grow and thrive in Maryland. So this is an example of a state program such as TEDCO that helps specifically, that has specific programs that are meant to help businesses work with federal labs and license these technologies taken to the market. Now let's talk about FLEX. FLEX is a program, as I said, that was developed as we have identified a need from talking to our labs in the area. So FLEX was developed in the Mid-Atlantic region originally a little over 2 years ago as a pilot program and now has grown national. FLEX stands for a Federal Lab Education Accelerator, which connects federal labs with MBA students. FLEX technology portfolio. So what we did here is we've talked to a number of labs in our region, and we listened to them and asked them, listened to the pains that they had. And the problem with a lot of federal labs is they do a lot of research and development. They have a lot of technologies that are available for licensing. They're available for further development. However, it's not their primary goal to chase the commercialization. A lot of times their tech transfer managers wear too many hats, and doing the detailed assessment of a technology, which means what is the market, who are our potential licensees, who do we need to approach, what companies might be interested in this, do we need to pivot technology? Questions like that usually don't get answered due to the bandwidth. So what we did is we asked federal labs to send us a handful of most promising technologies, and we created a FLEX super portfolio, if you will. And then we what this super portfolio does, it basically provides a heterogeneous portfolio to business students at the business schools who are learning how to do technology assessments. These portfolios they range from life sciences, advanced materials, energy, devices, software, engineering, basically anything from cancer to drone. And it provides labs with new business perspective on tech potential, and ensures the active management, long-term partnerships, and timely deliverables. So these are the Flex portfolio of federal labs that are currently participating. And like I said, we're just past the stage of a pilot program going into the national program. So over the next year or two, we're planning on doubling the number of the labs that are currently participating in Flex. We have over about 20 federal labs that are currently contributing to the Flex portfolio, which is a little over 100 technologies now. And like I said, you have CIA labs, you have Air Force research labs, you have National Security Agency, you have NASA, you have Army research labs, NCI, National Energy Technology Lab. So you really look at this portfolio from the Flex program and you can see this heterogeneity of technologies. And we paired this portfolio to the universities who are teaching their MBA students how to be entrepreneurs and how to do technology assessment. Technology assessment is needed basically as due diligence in order to decide whether this is worth licensing, how to proceed with the commercialization, and so on. So we approached initially, the universities in our own backyard and started working with a few of them, and then grew a little more nationwide. But our most frequent flyers, I have to say, are University of Maryland, Arizona State University, Carnegie Mellon, but other ones as well are participating through either their MBA programs or through their business programs, where they're teaching students how to be entrepreneurs and teaching students how to assess technologies. So quickly, how Flex works. Flex works basically, the students select the technology of interest. They go into the portfolio, and portfolio is, by the way, publicly available, and I can share the link to this Flex portfolio. They select the technology that they would like to evaluate for a semester or two. There is an assessment period, this during a semester, when students are being taught by their professors by how to do technology assessment. But we also ensure that there is a constant communication between the students and tech transfer managers within the labs. A lot of times we ask labs if they can put us in touch with the actual inventor. We found that to be very useful, because students can ask the inventor specific questions, and everyone can ensure that students really understand what the invention is, and then they can get the most out of the assessment, and the final product can be very relevant. Finally, there are presentations. Students present project to professors and relevant stakeholders. We've been to many of these presentations, and I have to say that the labs are usually very surprised how deep of the assessment students perform, and how well they really understand the market, how they understand the customers. So Flex example, University of Maryland MBA students worked on USGS technology. This was a safe directional drought resistant dug well. Deliverables to USGS lab from the students ranged from a lot of things that maybe weren't even in the syllabus for that class. So for example, students did a nomination and a pre-written TED Talk for the inventor. They did a pre-written pitch, email, and one-page fact sheet. They did graphic rendering of the technology. They created a marketing strategy for technology, and they came up with a list of potential licensees and their contact information. During this final presentation, USGS was so overwhelmed with such a deliverable that they encouraged all the students to apply to an upcoming job postings at the tech transfer office. And one of the students actually expressed the interest of licensing this technology and starting a company around it. So we talked about, possible outcomes, and outcomes are full market assessment that the lab can use to license or co-develop the technology, establish a long-term relationship with labs and entrepreneurs, job opportunities, and licensing of technology. But what does this mean for you as a business in Maryland? How can you take advantage of Flex? So imagine that you can get access to compilation of most diverse federal technologies with full market assessment, and that this can be at your fingertips. So all of these assessments that are being done by MBA students from various schools, not just Maryland schools at this point, we're planning on depositing them all into the folder and making them available for anyone who is interested in licensing a technology. Imagine that the real responsive, eager point of contact at Federal Labs is ready to work with you. These are the federal labs that participate in Flex program. We select the labs who participate in Flex. We really want them to be responsive. We want them to follow certain guidelines, and we ensure that we always have a primary and secondary point of contacts with the labs, and the communication is flawless. Imagine opportunity to connect with young entrepreneurs who worked on the technology. So if you're a business, if you're thinking of starting business in Maryland, if you're an existing business in Maryland that would like to expand the pipeline, and you go into Flex Portfolio and you select the technology, and you look at the assessment of the technology that was done by one or even several schools, and you say, well, this is great. They already identified a market. They did customer discovery for me. Maybe I would like to hire some of these young entrepreneurs who did such a great job. Well, we're happy to put you in touch with these folks. And imagine the opportunity to license and continue working with the lab and potentially inventors through one of the partnering vehicles that I mentioned earlier, such as CRADAs, research development agreements, or just straight up licensing. Well, you can get all that through Flex. Flex can ensure that we can put you in touch with relevant labs. We can put you in touch with the labs to talk about portfolio broader than just Flex portfolio. And like I said, FLC business can give you access to that. But more importantly, we can kind of close that circle, and we can point to the labs that are in the area. We can point to aspiring entrepreneurs that are in the area that you can work with. So with that, I would like to close this part of the presentation, or actually this presentation, and I would be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Vlad. That was amazing. So much information out there. We really appreciate your level of expertise and explaining it to us in a way where we can all learn from it. We do have one question that came in. So anybody else that has some questions, please add them to the Q&A section, and we'll see if Vlad can answer them for us. Vlad, the first question is, are MBA students not part of the Flex universities able to participate in the program? And is the program looking to add more partner universities?
Can you repeat the first part of the question?
Are MBA students not part of the Flex universities able to participate in the program? Okay.
We haven't had that question yet, but no pun intended, we are very flexible with our Flex program. So we have accommodated different things. So I would say we're open to that. We have had labs that were interested in getting fellows for the summer. We have had labs that were interested in getting fellows throughout the year. So there is that opportunity of connecting, kind of solo MBA students to the federal labs. So I would say reach out to this email you can see on screen, and I'll be happy to explore other options. As far as second part of the question was, I'll have to ask you, Kelly, again to read it.
Or are you looking to add additional universities to the Flex program?
Absolutely. We are looking to expand Flex program. Like I said, we piloted it for about a year and a half. We received funding from the FLC executive board to hire a full-time Flex manager person. So far we've been doing the piloting. Amanda Corbel here in my office has been doing a great job running this, in addition to all the other things that she does for her full-time job. But as Flex has shown a lot of promise and has shown a really gave us a good feedback from both federal labs and from academic institutions. We received some funding from FLC to hire a full-time person whose sole job will be to run and expand Flex. So yes, in the next year or two, we're looking to at least double the number of labs and schools. So if anyone has a school they prefer to work with, or they have a lab that they would like to work with, just let us know and we'll reach out to them.
Great. So for everybody, please take a look at your screen, and he has been very gracious in giving his email address out. So make sure you send any follow-up questions there. But from Steve Kelly, Vlad, how can I get a young entrepreneur, not necessarily an MBA, to participate?
Okay, so I'll speak from from Flex side, right? We kind of designed this, and I think the slides always mention MBA program because that was the original design, at least in my mind. But as we developed the program and approach other schools, I have to say not all the students are MBA students. This came from my experience when I was doing my MBA, and then that's where we started. But we work with undergraduate students at this point that are business students. We work with biotech students who are looking to be entrepreneurs. So if interested in any of those, we can put you in touch with those schools. As far as other programs for entrepreneurs, I would probably approach some of the accelerators and look at some of the fellowships. I know NCI does resident entrepreneur in residence program. So we're happy to connect you to who we know, basically, if you don't have a preference for if you don't want to work with MBA specifically. Yeah.
Perfect. So a little bit on the NIH program, Vlad. This is from Jian Yang. For NIH program, what does it mean when you said overhead and indirect rate capped at 15%? That's maybe a little bit of a technical question.
Well, I mean, if anyone, and not to bash universities, right? But having worked at one, I kind of have, I give myself a permission to do it a little bit. If you work with university, you're paying a lot of indirect costs, overhead, basically sometimes 60-70%. What does this mean, right? That if you invest $100, if you invest $100 into research at NIH, 85 of those dollars will go towards the actual research. 15% will go to back office staff and facilities and some maintenance and so on. But and that's the 15% overhead that we're talking about, the indirect cost. If you're working with the university, for example, these overheads are known to be much higher, and I'm talking 60-70%. So basically, you're getting less bang for your buck, which in the federal world, a lot of the work that we do is, first of all, in kind. Second of all, this overhead is capped at that, so we won't charge. Most of your dollars will go towards the actual research. I think that's the importance of it, is what you get for the investment.
And just to clarify on that, that is for everything from lab space to materials. I mean, what you're actually utilizing in the lab environment, correct?
Right, correct.
Got it. And from the same person, what is, and we may need a little bit more information on this, but what is general financial and equity terms for transfer from Flex program?
So that will depend on the lab, right? And we've created Flex. We created Flex in a way to not meddle in neither academics world or not meddle in federal labs world. And what does this mean is, we don't ask academic programs to change their syllabus. We don't ask them how they're going to approach in their teaching, in teaching MBA students to be entrepreneurs. We say, okay, your syllabus is going to address market, it's going to address customers. Great. We'll find you a lab that really fits this. The same thing with labs. We don't ask them to agree to certain licensing. Every lab will have different approach. Every lab will have a slightly different process of how they license technologies. What we do through Flex is we give an opportunity to we give opportunity for labs to submit their technologies, for these technologies to be evaluated, and we put them in touch with potential licensees. From there on, the relationship is basically direct between potential licensee and the labs. Flex kind of stays out of the way. We can offer you general, guidance of how to work with federal labs, but when it comes to the actual licensing, you will work directly with the lab.
Got it. I think that's very helpful. Thank you for that clarification. Vlad, I have one more question right now. So if anybody else has questions, we got a couple more minutes, but from Tanya asks, how might a service provider like our team at Interim Homes be made available to the labs and flex teams who may need temporary housing?
So that's a good question. Yeah. I think for flex, because we're kind of, if you will, like a virtual thing, right? I wouldn't see a direct connection, but I think as far as working with the labs, I think we can put you in touch with the labs a lot of labs such as our own, Frederick National Lab, we have visiting scholars, we have summer students, we have people who come for interviews, people who come for sabbaticals, and they need to stay somewhere, right? So interim housing, I would say, is important, especially for some of the labs that are not in urban areas, that are remote. That becomes a little more challenging. So putting them in touch with labs, I think that's where we can help. And then again, it would be working directly with the labs and addressing their specific needs.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I guess that's something that we don't always think about. So thank you, Tanya, for asking that question to help to provide. As everybody knows, at the Maryland Tech Council, we have lots of service providers that are part of our organization, helping to build up the community in lots of different ways. So we certainly appreciate that. Vlad, it doesn't look like we have any additional questions. Is there anything else that you wanted to say? Oh, I think we may have one. Hold on one second. This is from Ryan. He says, Vlad, are you all having any difficulties with staffing? If so, is there some way that an outside agency can be utilized sourcing talent for the labs?
I think staffing is always a challenge, and come to federal labs. I would say that's probably even more of a challenge for various reasons. And again, I'll speak about something that I know a little bit about, and this is our lab. We're in Frederick, so we're not associated with the big city. We're kind of a little more remote than being in Baltimore or DC. But then again, you're looking at bringing experts, and you're looking and identifying experts for a very niche research and niche science, right? So it gets challenging, and the more requirements we have for specific staff positions, the more challenging it gets. I would assume that other labs have similar issues. So yes, I think staffing agencies are more than welcome to work with the labs, and I'm always happy to put them in touch with our HR. I know that they welcome any help, like I said, especially when looking to bring some specific expertise to the lab.
That's great. Workforce development, it doesn't stop at entry level. It goes all the way up to your PhD level, right? Trying to find the right people.
Sure. For sure.
So Ronald Case, again, TEDCO DevTech is available to assist Maryland companies with their interactions with the Fed Lab. So thank you, Ron. We appreciate that very much.
Hey, Ron.
TEDCO is great. Hi, Ron. Is, of course, a great partner of FLC and also the Maryland Tech Council, and a great part of the community. So Ron, if you want, in the chat, you're more than welcome to put your email address in there if you want anybody to reach out to you folks at TEDCO. Well, great. Vlad, this has been so spectacular. We can't thank you enough for joining us today. And I'll just put a little bit of a plug in. You know, Frederick is not Baltimore or DC, but it's home to some fabulous people and some wonderful organizations. And I think that we're really happy to have you guys right here in our backyard as well. So appreciate that. I appreciate everybody for joining us today. Thanks to the MTC team for getting this all set up. And I can't wait to do another really great educational webinar in the very near future. Until then, have a great day.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Maryland Tech Council.